We're calling this meeting to order. Para traducción en español en vivo pueden escanear el código localizado en la última página de la agenda. Vice Mayor.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and please stay standing. Thank you.
Let's pray. Father God, we're so grateful and thankful for this opportunity tonight to be in these chambers together. Lord, we want to let you know how grateful we are for our city, the city of Riverbank, and Lord, the council that's before us, the city staff, all the residents. Lord, all together, Lord, we just want to say thank you. Father, I pray that tonight there would be that law of focus, Lord, that each one of us can focus on the business and what the city is doing and learning to love together, Lord, as love is not just with words, but with action. And that, Lord, this city will continue to develop and be the best city to live in Stanislaus County. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Here.
Councilmember Pimentel,
Here.
Councilmember Call,
Here.
Vice Mayor Fossey,
Here.
and Mayor Hernandez.
Here. We are going to pull for agenda changes 9.4 for a later date. Are there any other agenda changes? Any conflict of interest? Any council member authority, staff has direct conflict of interest on any scheduled agenda item is to declare the conflict at this time. All right, presentation. So we have a presentation from the Community Development Department, Planning Division, Long Range Planning.
Joshua Mann, our Director of Community Development, will be providing the report on this item.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. I actually have some assistance tonight with our presentation. I would like to introduce Steve McMurtry, who is a principal with the De Novo Planning Group. Steve has over 20 years of experience processing CEQA documents, working on long-range planning documents as well, and will be presenting the item tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Steve McMurtry. I'm a principal planner with De Novo Planning Group, and our firm serves as a consultant to the city working on long-range and current planning projects. And so similar to what you had a few weeks ago where the Public Works Department gave a presentation to introduce the Public Works Department and some of the roles and responsibilities of the department, we wanted to do the same thing with the Planning Department, talk a little bit about long-range planning, current planning, what they are. So I have about 10 or 15 slides here that I'll work through, and obviously I'm available to answer any questions too. Let's see. Okay, so the purpose of the presentation really just fourfold here. Discuss the role of the Planning Department, cover long-range and current planning, the importance of this within the city, and then also talk about some of the examples of long-range and current planning documents and the process involved with each. So you can break up the So the Planning Department, their role and responsibility is to do long-range and current planning, and you can break that up into two categories. On the left, we have generally what you would categorize long-range planning. That's going to be looking at sort of long-term horizons, 20-year horizons. It's going to involve your general plan, housing element update, RENA or your regional housing needs planning, zoning ordinance, and so forth. On the right side is going to be what your current planning is, and that's generally going to be applications that come in for a development or for an addition to a house. A variety of really site-specific planning efforts would fall into the current planning effort. So to define long-range planning here, it establishes the framework for how a city will develop and evolve over time. And so it's going to include a comprehensive strategy that ultimately anticipates future needs for a variety of categories: land use, circulation, public services, and so forth. We have a list there of specifically categories of long-range planning. On the right-hand side, you can see these are examples of city documents. You have your general plan. The middle document at the top is your current housing element. You have Crossroads West. It's a specific plan that was approved a few years ago, which is more specific to just that area. It's sort of a mini general plan for that area. On the bottom, you have a couple of examples of land use maps. The bottom right-hand side is going to be your downtown specific plan. Again, another specific plan in the city that really is defined to that downtown region. And then the lower the lower left-hand corner is your zoning map. And this is going to be your zoning districts for each individual parcel located within the incorporated limits of the city. So these are examples of long-range planning documents. A general plan is kind of sort of the pinnacle document for the city. To define it, it's the blueprint or the constitution for the city. And it is going to outline the vision for what you want the city to look like over time. And that vision is expressed in really three things. There's goals, there's policies, and there's implementation measures. And that's really the core of the general plan. Those are narrated within various chapters of the general plan that cover specific topics. I mentioned land use, transportation, housing, et cetera. So each chapter is going to have its own set of goals, policies, and implementation measures. Ultimately, the general plan serves as the basis for decision-making for yourselves and for the Planning Commission. It outlines capital investments that you want to make in the city, upgrading infrastructure, public services, and so forth. And then also, it is required of every city and every county in the state, under state law, that every city has a general plan. So your general plan has these 9 elements. This doesn't include the housing element. The housing element sort of lives, it's part of the general plan, but it lives outside the general plan document because it's updated more frequently based on a variety of state requirements. But your general plan has land use, circulation, community character, and so forth. Each one of these chapters having its own set of policies and implementation measures. Again, the structure of each chapter is going to have your goals, which are your broad statements of what you want, what your preferences is, what your vision is. And then you have a set of policies under each goal. And this is going to be a guideline for you as a decision maker to ensure that you're meeting the goals and the vision for the city. And then under each policy, there's going to be a set of actions. And the action is really a directive to your staff to ensure that they're implementing everything that needs to be done to achieve those goals. So again, each chapter is going to have sets of goals, policies, and action. As you have an adopted general plan, the planning department is going to be responsible for implementing that. And that's going to be done through your zoning code, which is a more specific set of standards, development standards, setbacks, building heights, a lot of things that are going to fulfill what your general plan is directing staff to do. So development standards, design guidelines are examples. The housing element in the RHNA. The RHNA is a regional housing needs allocation. It's dictated by the state every 5 to 7 years, and it's an assessment of how much housing, affordable housing and so forth is needed within your community. The city responds to that allocation from the state by updating their general plan, identifying sites where you have availability to accommodate the housing needs that the state says you need. So that's updated periodically. And then there's specific plans. Again, these are areas, sort of small areas throughout your city where you have a specific set of design guidelines, development standards specific to that area. You want your downtown to look a little different than you do other areas. So you have a downtown specific plan that's really specific to that area. The general plan is also implemented by other departments outside the planning department. So you have parks and recreation, and they're going to do master planning for parks. Your general plan is going to identify park standards, how big your parks need to be for community parks, neighborhood parks, pocket parks, how many park acres per 1,000 people. So various standards. And your parks department is going to do master planning to ensure that the city is meeting those standards. So also infrastructure planning, public works is going to work on infrastructure planning. The CIP is your sort of how you finance and how you outlay capital for infrastructure projects. Project review, it's really current planning, but it's an implementation step of the general plan. And I'll jump into current planning here in just a minute. So current planning is reviewing development applications. again, it can be anything from an add-on, it can be a completely new commercial or industrial project, subdivisions and so forth. And so these applications come in, the city reviews them for compliance with everything from the general plan, zoning requirements. We've got two lists here. To the left is your development applications examples. So anything from a tentative map, lot line adjustment. On the right side, a sort of a review process within the review process is your environmental planning. Every project's gonna need to be consistent with the California Environmental Quality Act. And so there is an environmental review process that is involved with that. And it can involve a couple of different documents, environmental impact reports, negative declarations. There's a variety of documents that, depending on the circumstances of the project, that would be prepared as part of the current planning effort. So I'll go over both of those in a little bit more detail here too, starting with the planning review process. So the planning department's going to take in an application at the planning desk. They'll look at everything, determine if it's complete. Once it's complete, a project planner is assigned. They review the application and disseminate that application to the various other departments, fire, police, building, et cetera, to get all of the input from all of the departments. And ultimately, and there is an environmental review process. Ultimately, once all the inputs received and any issues that are identified are reconciled, the planner will provide a staff report that narrates the project, issues that were encountered, the resolution to those. They schedule a hearing, and part of that review process, the public works, the various departments will provide recommended conditions of approval. These are things that need to be conditioned on the project so that you do meet the intent of the general plan, zoning, and other types of standards. And so that's going to all be in the staff report that ultimately will be presented to you. Before the hearing, there's a notice that's sent out to property owners within 300 feet of the property, and that has to be done 10 days prior to the public hearing. So the environmental review process, again, it's sort of the process within the process. It starts with an initial study. There's a scoping process, determine what needs to be studied. There's an environmental impact report that is prepared, ultimately a final environmental impact report, and then the EIR goes to the city council for certification of the document. So certification of the document along with your consideration of the entitlements through the application. So the hearing process is going to involve an oral report by a planner. The applicant will typically be given an opportunity to provide their oral testimony. Members of the public would come up to provide testimony. And then ultimately the planning commission, if it's the commission or a city council, will deliberate and make a decision to deny or approve the project, as well as to certify the environmental document. Some projects don't require city council approval. They only require planning commission approval. And for those, there is an appeal process. If somebody doesn't like the decision, they can appeal it, and that appeal goes to the city council for a final decision. If a project is approved and it moves on from the approval to a ministerial process, sort of post-application, there's a variety of other applications, processes that have to occur. One, under a scenario where there's a sphere of influence amendment or an annexation, bringing additional land into the city, there is a LAFCO approval. So the city technically does not approve boundary changes. You recommend that LAFCO approve it. It's part of, you approve entitlements, and those entitlements become effective upon approval by LAFCO. Once you've made your approval of the recommendation, the city planning staff would spearhead the process with LAFCO. There's also various city plan approvals, everything from grading permits, improvement plan, final maps, building permits, inspections, lots of other types of approvals that are done by the planning department post-application process. So the LAFCO process involves, there's really 4 different topics that involve LAFCO. Every city has a municipal service review. It's sort of your plan for services, how you're going to provide water, the financial ability to serve the city, and so forth. It's all documented within a municipal service review, which you prepare, and ultimately LAFCO, it's a LAFCO document. usually within the MSR or Municipal Services Review is going to be your sphere of influence, which defines, that area that you plan to grow into. And then within that sphere is where you look to annex lands into the city ultimately for development. And in some cases, there are attachments and detachments from irrigation districts or fire districts. As you start to amend political boundaries through LAFCO, there are those detachments and consolidations that can occur too. So the LAFCO process, hearing process is very similar to the city process. It starts with the city planning department providing applications to LAFCO for be it a sphere of influence or an annexation or detachment. LAFCO receives, and that goes along with the recommendation. They act on the recommendation of the city council to submit those applications. The executive director for LAFCO reviews the applications similar to the city planner. Once they deem that complete, they provide their staff report and their recommendation, schedule a hearing and have that hearing. At the hearing, executive director will take the lead and give their presentation, their staff recommendation. The city will have an opportunity to provide their testimony as the applicant for the entitlement. And then ultimately LAFCO deliberates and makes a decision to approve or deny whatever the request may be. And so that sums up the day-to-day sort of tasks and responsibilities over time. It's probably a much more complicated process than I can summarize in 10 slides, but I wanted to give you that background and sort of what to expect from the planning department. So I'm available to answer any questions that you might have, or that'll be a wrap for my presentation.
I feel like you did that in one breath. I commend you for summarizing a very complicated process that involves different governments, state, county, all of the things. So I appreciate that. Are there any specific questions? No? Thank you. All right. Public comment. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda and within subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council LA Board. Individual comments will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and time cannot be yielded to another person. Under state law, matters presented during public comment period cannot be discussed or acted upon.
Vivian Lopez.
Hello, good evening. It's kind of interesting that I'm following what the Planning Commission just explained because my comments kind of have to go with some of the information. Anyways, so I'm here this evening to share that the City of Riverbank has held many community meetings to get input from the public as to what direction we would like to see city growth. In particular, I remember attending the Riverbank Housing Element Workshop held on July the 31st at the Riverbank Community Center. Mr. Miguel Galvez, the city planner, set up several posters in the back of the community center. One of the maps was the city of Riverbank with areas for the general plan. It included industrial business park, lower density residential, medium and high density, commercial, parks, and agricultural resource conservation areas. Other posters were the vacant residential zone sites and underdeveloped residential zone sites. Mr. Galvez asked us to look at the posters, and he handed us some colored dots and asked us to place them where we thought we would like to see new housing. So the reason why I bring this up is because as residents, we're asked, where is it that we wish to see growth? I want to see smart planning for growth within our city limits. In the near future, the council will be deciding the Riverwalk project. I would not want to see the city of Riverbank expand all the way down to McHenry Road. And I ask you as city representatives that you take into consideration what is the best smart growth for our city. Thank you.
Cody Bridgewater.
I just wanted to commend Michael and his staff for a lovely evening on Saturday this last weekend. My 4-year-old daughter and I attended the dance for the second year in a row, and she looks forward to it every year. And just wanted to thank Michael again and look forward to next year.
Susanna Aldelon.
Comments, maybe 3. Honorable Mayor and esteemed members of the City Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I come to you not as an opponent of progress, but a concerned member of this community who believes the River Rock project in this current form is not in the best interest of our city. At first glance, the River Rock may seem attractive investment, offering economic development, enhanced recreation. However, when we take a closer look at the long-term impact on our environment, economy, and residents, it becomes clear that this project raises more concerns than benefits. I respectfully ask the council to reconsider this project and seek greater transparency and public engagement in deciding the best path forward. I also would like to express my strong support in conservation and preservation of the Zarello Mansion. While the building may not currently hold an official historical designation, I believe it's an important part of our community's heritage and should be considered for preservation. The Zarello family played a significant role in Riverbank's history, and their contributions to the city are well remembered by long-term residents. It is their legacy and represents a piece of our town's past that should not be lost in development or neglect. In a time when small towns are losing their unique landmarks, it is crucial that we take steps to safeguard our local history. I urge the council to explore options for conservation. Preserving the mansion could serve as a valuable reminder of Riverbank's roots and even be used for community engagement, education, and cultural events. I appreciate your time and consideration, and I hope we can work together to protect this meaningful part of our city's history. I would also like to thank the Sister City Committee for accepting my daughter, Chantel Andelon, who's here with us, Riverbank Unified School District student, Riverbank High School student, as a nominee to the Youth Leadership Summit in Washington. Thank you very much.
Olivia. Good evening, Mayor Hernandez, council members, and everyone here in the audience. I am Olivia Rambula. I am broker and owner of Timeless Real Estate here in Riverbank, but at this time, I am here for the Chamber of Commerce for Riverbank here, and we do have some events we'd like to share coming up. First off, tomorrow, here at Collective Spaces, we do have a lunch and learn. It's going to be from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. And what's going to happen there is Sarah, who actually is doing our coverage for our city, she's going to be doing a lunch and learn, teaching different items to bring social media to help you grow your business. So 12 to 1. I do have a sign up spot and a QR code if you would prefer to sign up that way so she can have the correct number for lunch. So everybody's invited to that. And then on February 19th here in our city council chambers that night, from 5 to 6:30, we are going to be holding, it's a organize your taxes for your business. They're going to go over quarterly taxes. We partner with the SBDC and Opportunity Stanislaus to bring in Crystal Stapleton. She's a very experienced CPA, so she'll help us out with that, going over our financial records and taxes for your business. Even if you don't have a business, it's great information. I would come and swoop by and see it. I also have a spot to register here, and everywhere that we have a registration, we have this on top of our, we have this located at our Riverbank Chamber of Commerce.org, so you can also sign up there as well. We're trying not to kill any more trees. And then we do have a multi-chamber event coming up on March 6th. And just put that out there now. We are just one of many chambers in our county, and we collaborate with the other chambers. So the Ceres Chamber is the host at this point in time for March 6th. It's going to be from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Doghouse Tap Room, which is located in Ceres. And then also, Love Riverbank. If you have not heard of it, you need to know that we do have Love Riverbank coming up on April 26th. But prior to that, there are some fundraisers going on. So tomorrow, after you eat lunch at the Lunch and Learn, you can go for dinner at Red Robin here in Riverbank. Just say Love Riverbank, and they will donate money towards of your meal towards that event. So we have a way to actually get some money for Love Riverbank. One more thing, just because I'm up here, sorry, there's just a lot going on and it's just too much, so visit our website. But we do have the CBCR Craft Week coming up also, and they do a lot for our community, and that's going to be on February 15th at the Riverbank Community Center, so I just wanted to get a shout out for that. For anything else, just ask us questions. You have 3 members of your Chamber of Commerce here, actually 4. Let us know if you need any information. Thank you.
Michael C.
Good evening, council members and everyone here. Michael Christie, and I live in Crossroads. This has to do with the Verizon cell tower. Recently, in the last couple of days, T-Mobile, a carrier, along with Starlink, has launched basically a service in the test market, right? Beta testing that's going to pretty much provide you, the user, an opportunity to make a call from anywhere. You can be in the middle of nowhere where you thought a phone would never work. And right now it's free for everyone to, between now and July 1st to sign up and try it. It doesn't matter if you're an AT&T or a Verizon customer. My hope is that July 1st, when this goes fully live and fully, when they start charging fees of anywhere from $15 to $20 a month, depending on the carrier, and that'll be per line. So my hope is that the city maybe can reach out to Verizon, who wants to put a tower here, and maybe negotiate something, to help anybody who's interested in offsetting the costs. I mean, because I was here at the meeting where there was a lot of opposition for the cell tower. So again, this has only been the last couple of days this went live. And then second, a few weeks ago, I requested some information about the walking path, about getting it lit up. And so that was the last meeting. And within 7 days, I got a response from Councilmember Call and I believe Maricela got the information, and I really appreciate you both. I mean, I wasn't expecting a response within 7 days. So I really appreciate the time you put into it. For those of my friends that might be listening in tonight, neighbors in Crossroads, $250,000, I understand, is a lot of money to spend for lighting up a path of 1.2 miles, 1.5 miles. But I do hope that, we can come to some sort of resolution, because it's just not, it's public safety. It's not, and there's so many people I see out. It doesn't matter if it's 5 a.m. or it's 9 o'clock at night. It's just, so I hope down the road that the city can look into it more, and maybe we can find a way to get the costs down. Thank you very much.
Eddie Carrillo.
Good evening, everyone. I was just here to invite you on behalf of RYBSA, Riverbank Youth Baseball Softball Association, to our opening day on March 8th, Saturday, March 8th. We're gonna have a parade. We're gonna parade around Castleberg Park. 8:30 a.m. the parade begins. We'll have all the teams lining up, come through the whole trail, come back to the north field, which is next to the restrooms. From 9 to 9:30, we'll have our ceremony, and our mayor here will be throwing the first pitch for the softball. So hopefully you're practicing. We start practices next Tuesday. We've been working with Mike in the Parks and Rec division. We've been great working with them. So just wanted to commend you, Mike. Thank you. Thank you, City Council, and I hope to see you there.
Mayor, we have 2 comments on Zoom. Mrs. Agers, if you could please unmute.
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. This is Jamie Agers, 7730 McHenry Avenue, outside the city of Riverbank, but within the proposed Riverwalk project area. My comments this evening, I would like to commend Councilmember Fossey for her suggestion to bring forward an item to the council comparing the cost of connecting to the city of Modesto wastewater treatment project in comparison to Riverbank expanding their own wastewater treatment plant. I think that's a fabulous idea, and I look forward to that agenda item coming forward. Thank you.
The next item is listed as Karen's iPhone. If you could please unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Great. Good evening, Mayor Hernandez and Vice Mayor Fossey, council members and staff. My name is Karen Conrado. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'll review information for the benefit of the new council members. I live on Hogue Road, an area bordering the proposed Riverwalk project area. This approximately 1,000 acres of land affects many people directly, even though none of us were informed by the city of Riverbank nor by the developers of this project. We found out through an article in the Modesto Bee. I think that this action alone sets the tone for the way this project has been handled, and it has been one example of many. I, along with many others, oppose the proposed Riverwalk project. There are many wrong concepts and practices associated with this proposed development, as noted in the draft EIR and final EIR, and letters received from agencies and concerned individuals, residents of Riverbank and Stanislaus County. This land is almost 1,000 acres of highly productive agricultural land with quality prime soil. It is floodplain land that has flooded since the Maloney's Dam has been built. With the predicted and occurring climate changes occurring, chances of flooding are increasing. Homes will be built on floodplain land adjacent to the Stanislaus River. There is increasing concerns for the increased cost of fire and flooding insurance. So there's not only the concern of the availability of insurance, but with a rising cost for less coverage. There are concerns with increased traffic congestion, accidents, road deterioration with overuse. Increased water, sewage, garbage, electricity, utilities cost, which I understand Riverbank residents have already and will continue to incur. Riparian habitat destruction, wildlife and wildlife corridor reduction and destruction. There is already adequate infill land available for the homes projected for the Riverwalk project, for this proposed Riverwalk project. This project encourages leapfrogging and urban sprawl. This proposed project is for the wrong area. I encourage you to please carefully research all angles why this proposed project should be soundly, defeated. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
There are no further comments on Zoom. Oh, I take that back. Oh, no, she put her hand down, so.
Okay, any other public comment? All right, so consent calendar. Oh, yes, no.
Looks like she put her hand
Okay.
back up. Would you like
Let's
to
do-
allow?
Yeah, let's.
Miss Colleen Preston, if you could please unmute.
Yes. Hello, this is Colleen Preston. I am a board member of the Stanislaus County League of Women Voters. Our league attended a Riverbank City Council meeting last February in our opposition to the proposed Riverwalk project, along all the lines that Karen just explained. We would like you to listen to your residents. They have already requested that any annexations to be put on the ballot. And I would like you to, since you represent citizens of Riverbank, to please listen to them and adhere to their requests. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No further comments.
Consent calendar, item 9.1 waive readings, 9.2 approval of the city council and local redevelopment authority board minutes for January 28th, 2025. Item 9.3, a resolution approving the purchase of a new cart for Jacob Myers Park in the amount of $14,500. And we're pulling item 9.4 for a future agenda, the resolution authorizing a joint application to and participation in the Home Key Plus program. Are there any council comments or questions? Any public comment on any item on the consent calendar? Do we have a motion to approve with the change?
So I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar items 9.1 to 9.3.
I second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Pimentel?
Yes.
Councilmember Call?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fosse?
Yes.
And Mayor Hernandez.
Yes.
The item passes 5-0.
Public hearings, item 10.1, resolution ratifying the adoption of development impact fees established by Stanislaus Consolidated Fire Protection District.
Mayor and council, the item before you for consideration is on behalf of the Stanislaus Consolidated Fire District. Presenting on this item is Chief Clint Bray with the Stanislaus Consolidated Fire Protection District and their consultant Jeffrey Small with Capital PFG.
Well, thank you very much for having us. Most importantly, we want to thank you, Maricela, for spending a lot of time with us. The impact fee took a very long time in making, and it was very important to the district, and we have board members here with us to be inclusive, not only in working with the city of Riverbank, but the city of Waterford, and also the county of Stanislaus, as the Stanislaus Consolidated Fire District covers those areas as well. And last but not least, we also work closely with the BIA and their development representatives. So it was a big step to come here tonight. I have a very short presentation just to cover some of the highlights for you, but just to provide a little bit of context. One second, please. Yeah. So just to provide a little bit of context, when new development comes in, new development generates property taxes. Those property taxes are used by the fire district to fund operations. But with that new development comes additional housing. And in fact, over the next 8 years within the district, we're expecting about 8,000 homes should they all be built. It's almost 16 million square feet.
and an additional 1.7 million of commercial property. So there will be increasing demands on the fire district and more square footage and more people to protect. So with that, we use the impact fees to offset the cost of development. Now, new development is going to have the benefit of the existing resources, fire stations, apparatus that the fire district has. But that is not enough. A new fire station over time will be needed. And this new fire station is due to growth. It will be financed, about 40% of it will be financed from the impact fee, and the remaining part will have to be financed by the fire district themselves. So the good news is, should you have the police powers to help us impose the fee, and that's why we're here tonight. We're asking you to help us impose the fee. It's 79 cents plus an additional 2 cents for administrative fees. So the total fee is 81 cents. Those monies will go for the fire district, but what we're really trying to do is spread those costs. New development isn't paying the full cost. Like I said, it's 40%. They're going to enjoy the benefit of some of the existing apparatus. The community is going to enjoy the benefit of having a new station. So what the fee study does is it really proportionally allocates those costs so everybody is paying their fair and equitable share. I didn't go through every slide in the presentation. I'm happy to do that. I think the one slide that is worth, well, this isn't working. There is a slide in there. Wait a minute. Okay, we're there now. We got a very nice letter from the BIA supporting us, supporting the study, and I think we're very pleased. So with that, we're very happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any specific questions?
I got two questions. If, can you kind of give us the total funding collected to date, total impact fees collected to date?
Just a little background on our fees. So the last time we updated our fees was 2007. Total funding collected today is just under $1 million. When you look at the cost of a new fire station, we have higher costs due to inflation with since 2019, and we're projecting a new fire station around $12 to $13 million. So these fees will help offset that for us. We're planning on a new station in the town of city of Riverbank, along with some new apparatus.
And then can you confirm that those impact fees, the just under $1 million, can you confirm that those that have been collected will be allocated to the construction of the new one?
Yes, they
Okay.
will. So all restricted fees will be used towards the allocation of the new fire station.
Okay, thank you.
Expand a little bit on when you mentioned proportional, there'll be applied proportionally.
Question. I may even have a slide to help out on this. So these are the existing, what we're doing, I'm going to explain the methodology. What we're doing is we're taking the existing assets. We have an insured value of 14.5 million. The cost of the new station, it has to be financed because the district doesn't have all the money to pay up front. So what we're doing is we're taking the existing 14 million, we're adding the $34 million. So we know what our current and future needs are, call it $50 million for simple math. Then we look at the current structures, square footage. There's about 44 million square feet of residential commercial property within the district. We're anticipating about 17 million square feet. So that totals about 61 million. And what we're trying to do is we're taking the existing and future costs of 48 million. We're deducting the 858,000 of impact fees that have already been collected from the community because that's going to be applied to that new station. And we're spreading those costs over the total square footage, both existing square footage and future square footage. So when I say, equitable, we're really allocating those costs, and the result is new development will end up paying an impact fee. That is 40% of the cost, with the remaining 60% borne by the district, or to say it another way, it's the existing community. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
What's the, how do I want to frame the question here? What's the oversight for the $858,000? Do you guys do like audits, or what's kind of the oversight in that?
So currently, those are in restricted funds accounts that are audited every year. With the new impact fee, with AB 1600, we'll be doing an audit every year on those funds that we collect.
Questions? And what's great about the way that you all budget is you can see clearly that Riverbank's fees are going to Riverbank services and assets. So really appreciate the transparency and all of that budgeting. Okay. So since this is a public hearing, I'm going to open for any public comments on this item.
So I have one from Frank. Okay. You're welcome.
We do have one public comment via Zoom. Mrs. Agers, if you could please unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Jamie Agers, 7730 McHenry Avenue, Modesto, California, and part of the Stanislaus Consolidated Fire District area. My concern is that the last time the development fees were updated was 2007. It seems as though they should have been updated at least by 2016 when Crossroads West was approved. You would have collected a lot more impact fees to date if that had occurred. So while I understand the need for this to happen now, it seems like it should have happened several years ago. One of the reasons I feel that way is I've read the municipal services report that was submitted by Riverbank to LAFCO for the approval of the Crossroads West development in 2016. And the fire services for the city were deficient at that time. In other words, not meeting the city's own standard for fire service protection. And they are still not meeting those standards today. That was described in the draft EIR for the Riverwalk project. So while I applaud the effort to try to bring services up to date, we're way, way behind. Thank you.
We have a second comment via Zoom, phone number ending in 3108. If you could please unmute. Phone number ending in 3108. Please unmute.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I just have one question. If I'm understanding this right, all of this money is going to go to build the fire station. And if that's correct, where is the money going to come from for the fire trucks, the fire equipment, and the firefighters that are going to be needed for that station?
Was
that the balance of your comments?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Have any other public comment at the moment? We'll come back to some of those questions. You can come up for your comment.
As someone who's watched a close relative lose everything in Southern California due to the fires, I say give the fire department what they need. Work with them, find a way, please.
One more comment, yeah.
So Daryl, you can come up now for comment.
Is Daryl Daniel and I have two different properties, the Snow White Drive-In, plus a house that I also own here in Riverbank. And so that would be my thing when you have new property, as I can remember on other properties, that when you're building new projects like the Crossroads West and other items, of course you need the fire department facilities and stuff like that. So, and they do need to, and I do see that on my taxes that I pay. So, but I'm in District 1, okay? So that means it's a very old, established, it's been paid. Actually, my Snow White's paid property tax from the 1960s. So when you build quite a few miles away, Crossroads, that comes out a new tax. So I'm pretty sure, or maybe I should ask that question is, does that tax just for Riverbank, districts that they pay? And that's why, I guess probably why I'm against building too quickly. Riverbank doesn't need to be the fastest growing city in California, or at least it was the 10th fastest city at one time. So that's why I'm into controlled, carefully growth as time is needed and as time as the fire department and school districts and everything like that is able to establish. But that doesn't mean that we need to, you know, we're gonna have a bunch of we need a fire department at the McHenry area now. Because if you build that way out there in that direction, the question is are they gonna put my house and my Snow White Drive in, put the fire out from the district that's right around the corner here versus going way out there, which is quite a ways away, plus going over the tracks and everything like that. And everyone knows that's a challenge. That's why I do notice the fire departments and stuff, some of the new ones in the Crossroads area and stuff, which comes, so growth comes with some penalty. It's not just all dollars. You know, when you're starting to when you build things, you do have to have the fire department. And with the fire department, of course, that means each and every one that's here, property owners, you know, and I'm paying double because I have a house I'm paying property tax on. And I'm also have my Snow White Drive-In property tax that I'm paying on. Okay, so that's going to be that. And then now it's going to be increased by how much? I don't know. We'll find that out. But the fire department's great. We need him.
Any other public comment? Olivia has one.
Hello again, Mayor Hernandez, Council, and all of our guests here today. Olivia Rambula, broker owner of Timeless Real Estate here on Atchison Street, right down the way. I also own a home where we live at in Crossroads, which is our District 4 area. When you are in my office, you will hear our poor fire department, especially during the summertime, going out on several calls. They are so busy, and I know there is a need for another fire department here. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention. I'm not sure. Is it the fire department going to be located on McHenry, or where is this proposed spot for? I would like it to be closer to the Crossroads area. My house is there. Not just 100% selfish, but a little bit. And then also, I do know that they do need another fire department because they're just working themselves a lot here. And I know we serve more than our area. I know that they're helping in Oakdale, and if they're somewhere else, and I'm sure Oakdale will probably be helping us, but I know that our fire department is definitely helping us in several areas of our town, and they are spread thin. Do I want to spend more money on taxes? Heck no, I don't. But if that's what it's going to take, $4,000 a year, which somebody buy a house, please, so I can pay for that. But if that's the case, though, if that's going to save a life, then we definitely need to make sure we have the extra fire department here. And if there's any other kind of fundraising or grants or anything that we can ask for or try to get to help pay for and alleviate some of this, I'm definitely up for that. So that would be helpful. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. If you don't mind answering just a couple of a top line, I think even to just reiterate, you know, where the sales tax or the fees are going to be allocated, the location, if you're able to share, and then there was, and who's going to be impacted by these fees.
So the fees are only new construction and will be impacted by the fees.
So any new developments, specifically with the ones that are being planned. Currently, for staffing of the fire stations, we have a direct assessment that every parcel owner in our district pays. So as the new developments come in, they will also pay that, and that is how we fund for staffing of the fire station. Currently, we have plans for the fire station. We own property on Morello across from the soccer field, and that's where we're believing that it's going to be the additional station to Riverbank will go. We're not moving this station. This is in addition to. And one thing to note with our boundary drop agreements with the city of Modesto and Oakdale's, one of the successes we saw recently was in our insurance ratings. The district went from a 3 to a 1. So for your fire insurance, you may not see an increase or decrease, but you probably won't see an increase in your fire insurance because of our partnerships.
I just would like to add that there was a question about the other cost of the fire engines and whatnot. That is all built into the study. So, and there's a slide, those who are on Zoom may not be able to see it, but just so everybody here sees it, we have apparatus for the new station. There's 2 of them. It's a big fire engine, two big fire engines, vehicles. There's all sorts of equipment. So we've included everything in that figure.
They can see it on Zoom, right?
Yes, they should be able to see that on Zoom. I did want to go back and answer Mrs. Ager's question with regards to Crossroads West. When that property was annexed, a special agreement was actually written with Crossroads West because we understood that there was a deficiency in that service area. And so they currently pay 82 cents per square foot. So we have been collecting that since Crossroads West was annexed. Or I should say the district, not we.
Thank you. You had one more comment? Yeah.
So I noticed, I heard one of the citizens make a comment about how long ago your rates were increased. So you've clarified that these 82 cents or 81 cents is for new development only. Do you have a proposal that you'll be bringing forward to us for any increases for current citizens since 2007?
So the special assessment was adopted by the voters in 2003. And with that, it was a mechanism to have cost of living increase added to that measure. That goes before our board. They have a public hearing every year on that matter. And then they vote not to exceed 3% of the assessment.
And how long is that valid for? Is it just
Indefinitely. There is no
indefinite?
sunset
Okay.
on it.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that for everybody. Thank you.
And that particular fee does not require any council approval as it is a Proposition 218 process that the district undertook on their own.
I have not closed the public hearing. Are there any other public comments? Okay, we're gonna close the public hearing. If there are no further questions or comments, do we have a motion?
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve item 10.1.
Second.
Oh, roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Yes.
Councilmember Pimentel,
Yes.
Councilmember Call,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fosse,
Yes.
and Mayor Hernandez.
Yes.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, so new business, item 11.1, considering the petition from Riverbank 108 LLC to waive the storm drain system development fee and reduce the traffic system development fee for the Tractor Supply project.
So continuing our conversation about development impact fees, this item is going to be presented by our Community Development Director, Joshua Mann.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. The item before you tonight is item 11.1. This is a petition request from Riverbank 108 LLC to waive the storm drain system development fees and reduce the traffic system development fees for their Tractor Supply project on Patterson Road. In terms of a recommendation, it's recommended that the City Council consider the petition from Riverbank 108 LLC to waive payment for the storm drain and reduce the traffic system development fees, which will be assessed on the construction of their upcoming Tractor Supply project. A little bit of quick background for you. The project site is located on Patterson Road. This is the vacant lot that's just east of the Dutch Brothers Coffee Shop. The project was approved last December 17th of 2024. And the entitlements included the ability to construct a 23,729 square foot tractor supply building, a 16,000 square foot retail building, 2 quick service restaurants, as well as site amenities such as landscaping, parking lot, lighting, etc. To kind of give you a visual of this site, so you can see Dutch Brothers is sort of in the left area of the site. In terms of the QSRs, which are the drive-through restaurants, those are the 2 that are nearest Patterson Road. And then the tractor supply and retail building would sit in the back of it. I also just wanted to point out the blue area is the stormwater retention basin. In terms of system development fees, these are fees that are collected generally to mitigate the impacts of new development. This ensures that funding for infrastructure and public services are available to the city. These fees typically cover the police, general government category, as well as sewer, water, traffic, and storm drain impacts. The request that Riverbank 108 LLC submitted included a full waiver of the storm drains system development fees. This is estimated to be approximately $267,182. In addition to this request, they also asked for a 60% reduction in the traffic system development fees. This request was specific to the tractor supply building only. The estimated reduction would take it from $185,323 to $74,129. Again, it represents a 60% reduction in that fee amount. In terms of the other system development fees, I mentioned that all those fees will be paid in full. Again, just to give you a visual of the site and what the request is, you see the tractor supply building is outlined in red. That is the 60% reduction in the traffic fee request. And then the entire site is outlined in yellow. That's just representing the waiver request for the entire development for the stormwater. In terms of analysis, staff looked at this, and the proposed development intends to construct an on-site basin that I pointed out. This will retain the stormwater for the entire development, and it, as such, would have no impact on the city's stormwater system. Traffic impacts related to the tractor supply store are significantly lower. The applicant provided some traffic data that showed that it's approximately 60% less traffic than similar sized businesses. Similar sized business, you would see something like a supermarket, maybe a hardware store, or other type of similar uses. And then lastly, I'll just mention the reduction of the fees promotes a fair and proportional fee assessment, particularly on the traffic 60% reduction. And then again, because of the additional costs to develop an on-site stormwater basin, that is kind of the analysis that we went through in this project. In terms of the financial impact, the proposed request would allow a system development fee reduction of approximately $378,376. This represents both that 60% reduction in the traffic fee and the development-wide waiver of the stormwater fee. Reducing this would help, generally it helps drive economic development by attracting businesses, promoting desirable land uses, and supporting small and medium-sized enterprises. In addition, it enhances the city's competitiveness for investment. It creates jobs, it accelerates project completion, and this leads to earlier revenue generation through property and sales tax. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I also wanted to mention the project proponent is in attendance if you have any specific questions. I'm on that end. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Comments?
Okay, so I got a couple. Joshua, do you have a breakdown? You said, so for the full waiver, we'll talk about that one first. For the full waiver, what's the breakdown? You said some of it goes to police. Give us the breakdown of that.
So the full waiver, that is just, I guess I use the word full waiver to include all of the development. So in terms of like the traffic, it's specific to just the Tractor Supply building, where the stormwater fee is being waived for the entire development.
And those fees, is that broken up into other categories? Like where's the 267 going?
So the 267, that's a combination of the two drive-through restaurants. Those were
Let me rephrase. I'm rephrasing it. Let me rephrase it. When we collect the 267, where does that money go?
Oh, so the 267 would go into a fund, and that fund is part of the capital improvement project
Okay, got
program. Go towards building out the city's system or maintaining it long-term.
It is specific to storm drain, so it's
Got it.
not
Okay.
associated with parks or general government or police. It
Okay.
is
Yeah.
only
Okay,
storm
because
drain.
I heard you say police. I was like, wait, is some of this going to police? So thank you for the clarification. Yeah, no, 100%. Okay, so I'm inclined to go with the full waiver there. If they are capturing everything, there's no impact there, right? But we do have the ability for those projects that do develop that will impact us. We have something structured for that. In this case, they're capturing everything. There's not going to be an impact. So I am inclined to do the full waiver there. The 60%, I thought that was pretty creative. So we've been discussing about how do we encourage infill development? Like that's pretty creative. I don't think I would have thought of that. So I was trying to do a little bit more in-depth research. I know the edition is pretty outdated. It's like a 2017 edition for where they got the study for this. But it does make sense, right? And so I wanted a little bit more current information, trying to go apples to apples. But the Ace Hardware comparison was reasonable to me. So I am inclined to go for this 60% reduction based off that. And then I think we should, during strategic, kind of adopt this. I think this is pretty smart if we're going to continue to attract those infill properties. The developers are going to love this versus just new development on the outskirts. We have infrastructure nearby, and this is a good way to do it. So.
Comments or questions?
Are these splittable? So can we say yes to one and no to another one? I just think 108, the traffic is already insane and there's no way to really predict based on the chart that we're given, whether they will attract no traffic, 14% less than Home Depot or 260% less than Home Depot. I don't really think there's a way to determine that.
Could you go back to the map of it all and kind of walk through how the traffic would flow in that area?
Yeah, so I'll just kind of walk you through the development. So you're all familiar. So this is the Dutch Brothers development that's out there currently. The rest of the property is vacant. So there is this entrance here. This entrance will be expanded and then it's going to be a shared entrance for the development. And then if you look just to the east, there's another entrance. So in terms of circulation, I think generally truck traffic would come in here. This is for deliveries and then kind of wind through and then back out here. It's kind of hard to say how typical vehicles would use it. I would imagine just driving down, they could either, come in here was probably the most logical and looks like the main entrance. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but be happy to expand on that.
So I know my daughter works at Dutch Bros. So I know that they have a problem with people turning in to Dutch Bros from the wrong side.
Correct, yes.
And so what are we going to do about that now that we're going to have more businesses there? Are we going to make that center more of a double turn or something? Because you're just going to have more people doing it.
Yeah, so I'll just remind the council also, this is a state highway. So sometimes it kind of gets lost, but it is under the jurisdiction of Caltrans. So the applicant has been working with Caltrans. This thing, as you've stated, is a problem. People make illegal left turns in and illegal left turns out. So Caltrans had already identified the problem months ago, and they're in the process of doing some barriers here to prevent the turns. And I have the applicant here. He's been working with Caltrans the last few weeks And they have kind of come up with a design that was gonna prevent both left turns of Dutch Brothers and also left turns into the new shopping center. The difficult part is this turn lane is a double left turn lane. There is one part that turns into a vet and gym, and then the turn lane starts again to turn onto Estelle. When you're out there driving, it almost looks like one long turn lane, but it is actually two turn lanes. So that is, there has been some difficulty coming up with the design. Again, I'll offer the applicants here. He could probably share a little more information that how he's been working with Caltrans.
What concerns me is turning onto Estelle. So you have a truck come out and it needs to go the other way and he's gonna have to do a U-turn at Estelle. That's gonna be fun.
Currently there is no U-turn allowed at Estelle. That was one of the
Oh.
things that came up. Caltrans identified that as a potential issue as well. And I think the applicant had to redesign this entrance slightly so that trucks turning out of here stayed in their lane and didn't merge over into a turn lane or into the other lane.
Yeah, if we can hear from the applicant, I'd love to hear the conversation from Caltrans.
Hi, I'm Brad Sobel from Riverbank 108. Just briefly, we're a father and son company. We've been developing for 50 years. We happen to be a Tractor Supply preferred developer. And in the last 10 years, we've built 13 Tractor Supplies around California. We built similar shopping center like this as well. One just recently in Napomo. So I wanted, and so thank you, Mayor and council members for having us. We're very excited to be coming to Riverbank. As Josh had said, Caltrans had already identified the issues that are occurring once Dutch Bros went into operation. And so they already have a plan that they were going to implement on their own. And I don't want to speak for Caltrans, but we did, Josh and I both saw the plan, and they were going to put delineators here along this yellow line to prevent anyone from being able to come in here and then cross over to turn left into here, as well as anybody who's exiting from here and wanting to come out straight and turn left to go westbound on Patterson. So that was already underway with Caltrans, and they were going to be installing this, I think, within the next 2 or 3 months was my understanding based on my most previous meeting with them. So on top of that, with our project, the discussion was specifically where our driveway here lines up with this driveway across the street. And won't people think when they come out of here that they can just go straight across the street or go out and turn left, or for traffic coming in this direction to turn left into the shopping center? So we have already submitted a plan to them that will add additional delineators on the, let's call it this white line here, going across this area. I forgot how many linear feet. I think it was something like 80, but I'm not positive on that. And that would prevent anyone from exiting here and turning left and going across, or anyone traveling westbound and wanting to turn into the center here. And as Josh pointed out, this turn, it still keeps this left turn lane as a fully functional left turn lane for people to come in and go over to the gym and the vet, or for people to continue on and go straight. Although I know that that's not the preferred movement here, but I know that does happen. And of course, it's the delineator stop here, so that fully allows people to come who are traveling eastbound on Patterson to enter this left turn lane to go north on Estelle. Additionally, that was just mentioned about trucks. And Josh is correct, there is no U-turn movement allowed at this intersection. The trucks that we're talking about here are semi trucks that would be delivering to the businesses in the back here, Tractor Supply, and at some point, an additional retail building here. Those trucks are not able to make any kind of a U-turn at this intersection, even if it was allowed. They're too big. And so their turn movement, as Josh had mentioned, is coming, it would be traveling eastbound, making a right turn here, coming in, unloading back here, coming out the main drive, and turning right and continuing to travel eastbound on Patterson. So they don't have any choice but to follow that movement. So that was my discussion with Caltrans. I also wanted to comment, if I could, on a previous comment that was made about traffic trip generation in general, because I know that you asked about potentially splitting the two separately. Tractor Supply is a very low traffic generating use, and I've done this in, as I mentioned, we've built 13 Tractor Supplies over the last 10 years, and in many municipalities, every municipality has a separate way of figuring out how to charge traffic impact fees. In the case of Riverbank, you have one multiplier per square foot at $7.81 per, per 1,000 square feet. And that is the multiplier, whether you're a mom and pop candy shop or whether you're Walmart. It's the same fee per square foot, per 1,000 square feet. So and then in other municipalities that we've dealt with, they have a laundry list of 30 uses, the type of use. Are you a superstore? Are you a hardware store? Are you a small retailer, a mattress store, et cetera, et cetera? And they have the impacts that those type of businesses typically make on city streets, roadways, infrastructure. They allot the multiplier based on the amount of traffic that those type of businesses generate. So in that way, it's a much more equitable way to say, if I have a 10,000 foot Family Dollar store, or I have a 10,000 foot hardware store, or a 10,000 foot mattress store, each one of those uses is going to generate a completely different amount of traffic to that business. And it's really not equitable to charge the same impact fee for someone who generates 50% less traffic than Family Dollar, for them to pay the same as a use like Family Dollar, who generates a lot of trips. And so these trip generation notes here on this table are taken out of the ITE handbook, which is the handbook that all traffic engineers use to determine trip rates. This is the book that Caltrans uses to determine trip rates.
How often is that updated?
Every year. This manual, the ITE book, is updated every year. However, and the book is this thick. So there's every imaginable use in that book. And however, they don't necessarily update each individual use every year. So that is why for our table that we put together, this is based on the most current manual, which is the 11th edition from 2021. Actually, so I guess I have to make a caveat and say that maybe it's not every year. The most current book that people are using is the 2021 edition. And so that's what this table is based on. However, the Tractor Supply has their own category in that book, their own page of trip generation. However, the Tractor Supply trip generation table for that page was last updated in 2017 for that specific use. So that's why there's a discrepancy between 17 and the book's current date, 21.
And that was my concern, and is why I mentioned we're kind of using outdated numbers from the ITE, and so. But thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
Yep.
And just so you know, but if you look back in time, with the various different iterations of the book, the numbers stay relatively the same. So if you look at the Tractor Supply from 2017 and you take a look at like 2014, the trip count is going to be essentially the same year over year. So anyway, so getting back to my point is that Tractor Supply is a very low generating use, relatively speaking, and compared to other types of businesses who generate a lot. So a supermarket is one of the top trip generating uses. And it's nowhere near the type of volume that Tractor Supply does, but we're paying the same rate that a supermarket would pay, even though Tractor Supply generates, I have the figure here. So a Ralph's generates 670% more traffic to their business than a Tractor Supply does. But we're being asked to pay the same impact fee that a Ralph's or supermarket, if you would pay. And that just doesn't seem very equitable. And that's what happens when you have one number for traffic impact fees per 1,000 square feet versus having 10 or 20 different categories to allow a little flexibility in, what a municipality would charge for traffic impact fees.
How many large deliveries do you guys get a day on average, Tractor Supply?
They have 3 to 4.
And how much outbound freight? Sending, transferring product, whatever it may be? None.
I don't know the answer to that
Okay.
question, but it's not a tremendous amount. Most of the stuff is being brought in.
And then, so when they turn right and go eastbound on 108, where do the trucks go?
I don't know the answer to that either.
So they can't, going down Estelle, you're going into a neighborhood. You continue down 108, you get to the Roselle and Patterson intersection. That's already a cluster. Or they continue down 108 into Oakdale, maybe for another delivery. So my concern with the traffic isn't just right in front of the immediate store. It's the residual through Riverbank that I'm concerned about.
And I completely get that, but I'm not sure it's fair for us to fix that issue. Really, the impact fees are supposed to be about, your individual use versus we understand that there's a traffic problem on Patterson Road. And I'm not sure that it's fair for a particular project to be penalized, in our opinion, to try and fix that, or just to be penalized in general when we're paying an inequitable amount of money relative to factual data on what really trip generation is about.
You mentioned 2 to 3 months for Caltrans to do some updates in there. When was that conversation had?
This was about a week and a half ago.
So it sounds like we need to bring Caltrans in here as well to answer some questions and to talk through some of the larger outside of your area impacts. Are there any other questions, comments?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And let's see. Any public comment? Yeah.
Hi, Mayor Hernandez, council members, our guest. I'm Olivia Brambula. I am broker and owner of Timeless Real Estate now, but in my history, I was a grocery store manager. I did that for 28 years. I also had a Class A license at one point in time. And I'm just going to say that coming out of here, I don't know how new the drivers are, the experience. You never know what's going to happen with a Class A license, but if they do end up on Estelle, there's also a school right there. So it's gonna be very hard to get out. And as, a council member call did say that it's either gonna end up in Patterson in the neighborhood. It's gonna end up over off of First Street, Atchison, if they go over, and then who knows what's gonna happen once the weight from the trucks are, it's only 4 trucks a day and I get it, but it's just an added weight onto the bridge. I don't know the structural compact that it can, hold, but that's just one thing. But we're not looking at the fact that you can't make a U-turn here, you can't make a U-turn here, and people are doing it. So add all this in with traffic, and who knows, right now, the Tractor Supply, it's not going to bring as much traffic as a grocery store. I completely get that. But there's also other businesses that are going in there. And we've all seen how Dutch Brothers or a Starbucks, they could have more traffic than the grocery store some days. And that's just kind of how that is. So I know it's Caltrans, I know it's a highway, but I think that it is, with the Caltrans coming in, maybe we should look at a proposed light, even though it is very close and Estelle's right there, but just a light and widen up the exit to get out of there so we can make it more accessible to our people and make it to where they can come through the grocery, well, not grocery, sorry, used to saying that, come through the entrance and make the turns out of whether it's Dutch Brothers or if it's out of this center here. I think that we need, if we can, and like I said, it's short, and I don't like short stoplights and all that stuff. And Save Mart on Oakdale Road and Modesto, the one at the corner of Sylvan, they do have a very short stop right there, but it does help alleviate the traffic to get people out of that center, whether it be the big trucks or people who are there going for the other stores that are going to be coming about. So I don't know what those are yet. I think that we need to look at that because we're not just building this for today, we're building this for our future. So I think getting that fixed now to where the veterinarians can go into their center, or people can go straight and come right out of here and make a left. Because if not, it's going to make a lot of traffic going up this one lane highway, going up to the right. So I just think that needs to be something that is considered also, is even though it's a short distance, more stoplights right there to come out. Okay, thank you.
So, go ahead.
My name is Daryl Daniels, 334 Atchison. I love the tractor place in Oakdale. I've gone there quite a few times. I've noticed that it has a lot more than I thought it had because it replaces Stuart and Dick Landon's clothing. It has really nice jeans and things like that, and what you normally do, which also means they are it's what the name of it, I was really trying to figure out what it was. So they have a lot of horse trailers also. So you after, even though it's not a truck, it's a horse trailer, which is large. That was probably for the first large chunk of my, I just started, I thought. The large chunk of my business was I want horse trailers. They want my cowboy burgers and every burgers and stuff like that. I've been slightly losing more and more horse trailer type customers, let's call it that. With that, if I own that little piece of property at the rear end shop, one, yes, you have to give them a extremely fair number because they own that property, and that means that they're actually in the way of progress. You have to remember, across the street was a hog house something, what is it, whatever. So many things change. Maybe Snow White not in the last 60 years, but when you have something like that, you almost have to open that up. At the same time, you can't open it all the way, but on the back side where those homes are, the first thing they said, we don't want Estelle to come through. Well, you can do is very easily is make it into a bike, a turnaround so big trucks can get around that area. That would be this yellow. Hopefully that's not going to be blocked all the way. Hopefully that's going to be blocked for fire department only, because of course you need that fire department to get where they want to go. When they want to go somewhere, they need to go. If it's whatever's burning down, okay? And the houses would appreciate that. Bicycles and walking people are not going to be going all the way around to be able to just walk in there. And it is true. Yes, you don't want a through way where regular cars like myself would come through there and, you know, and kind of like try to get around the corners and stuff like that. But it does have that because there is going to be on the west side, that would be the east side, beside it, it is going to be another piece of property that is going to be for a good business. The restaurants in the front, I really hope you don't put another fast food in there. I mean, the city really does have enough, but anyway, hopefully it's a upscale one. So it sounds like I'm it. So anyway, thank you.
Any other public comment?
Michael Christie from Riverbank Crossroads area. I agree with you, Mayor, that Caltrans needs to come in and meet with you because my concern is after Tractor Supply goes in, there's a possibility of like a Walgreens or something going in next to it, you know, some type of store like that where you have traffic going in and out. And that's going to bring kind of like a grocery store type traffic. And so I also agree with Olivia's about looking at a stoplight too, but yeah, so I do hope the council will meet with Caltrans before you make any decisions. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Evans. My business is Paparazzi $5 Jewelry. I'm really concerned about the schools because all the schools are overpacked. My grandson goes to Hoosdack, and you should just see how many buses he has. It's ridiculous. And it's like, I understand you guys want to build that, but I think our schools should come first. Thank you.
Good evening again. I just wanted to remind the council, we're here tonight to look at this fee waiver. We're not here to litigate. This project was already approved back in December. The appeal period is passed and we had no appeals.
Also, just to address some of the other concerns that were raised, yeah, there are designated truck routes within the city of Riverbank. And so those that come in with semi trucks have access to those and are required to use those. So there would, the likelihood of them taking Estelle as, you know, an accident, I mean, unless they're not paying attention to their GPS, is probably very low to slim to none. The designated truck route that's probably the closest to this location will be Roselle, but we know that is an existing deficiency that typically new development is not responsible for. However, we know that the additional traffic does create an impact, which is why they're not asking for a total waiver of the fee. They're simply asking for the 60% reduction. And it does only apply to the Tractor Supply. They have the retail store next door of approximately 16,000 square feet and the 2 quick serve restaurants in the front. Those will have their own traffic impact fees assessed to them. If at that point in time they'd like to request a reduction or a waiver, then certainly we would come back for those. But at this point in time, we are anticipating assessing the full fee based on the type of retail and quick serve that we believe are going to be brought in. Now, the waiver of the storm drain fee is being requested at 100% because all new development is required to hold all of their stormwater on site. And so all 4 locations will drain into that same storm pond, which is why they're requesting 100% of that fee that's waived. And certainly Caltrans is a partner with us. So conversations like these are always important to make sure that traffic is flowing the way that they need it to flow on Highway 108 as well. And ultimately, when the North County corridor does transfer over, a lot of the traffic that's currently on 108, eventually that may be relinquished to the city. And at that point in time, we will have more power with regards to making changes to that particular stretch.
Any other comments from council?
No, so I just kind of wanted to echo what Joshua said. Maricela took the words out of my mouth. So we have about till 2028 North County corridor will come in, and then this state route will transition to the North County corridor. But that doesn't mean that we can't be proactive and stay in touch with Caltrans as we do as a city. And luckily we have 2 representatives on StanCog that meet with them monthly. But if we're just discussing the fee waiver request, I think it does make sense since they're holding all of the storm drain on site. To me, that one makes sense for the full waiver. The 60% ones, if we're being equitable, and we're going off an ITE 27, was it a 2017 edition? So let's be fair, since that addition came out, has there been population growth? There has been. So I think to be fair, I would be comfortable going to 50% reduction. So a full waiver of the storm drain, 50% of the reduction in traffic.
And apologies, I didn't address Councilmember Call's question about taking each of the fees individually. So either council can elect to do that, or a motion can be made to address both of the fees. And at that point in time, you can make a determination as to how you'd like to vote.
So, okay, so would you guys like to go individually or as a individually? Okay, so I'll make a motion for item 11.1 for the full waiver of the storm drain system to be development, sorry, where am I at here? Storm drain system development fee to be waived entirely.
I second.
Roll call for just the waiver of the storm system development fee.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Pimentel?
Yes.
Councilmember Call?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fosse?
Yes.
And Mayor Hernandez.
Yes.
That portion of the item passes unanimously.
Okay, so as for the traffic system development fees, I mean, I will say I think it's a little bit of a slippery slope for us to handle. It's just to arbitrarily go outside of what did you say you're referring to again for the traffic assessments?
I believe, are you referring to the ITE or the
Yes, yeah.
Institute of Traffic Engineers?
Right, so I think it's a little bit of a slippery slope for us to address that subjectively, since that is the latest update that we have that is referenced. I would feel comfortable doing the 60% reduction since that's what's been assessed with the ITE. And so I will make that motion at this time.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
No.
Councilmember Pimentel?
Yes.
Councilmember Call?
No.
Vice Mayor Fosse?
Yes.
Mayor Hernandez.
Yes.
The traffic fee 60% reduction passed with a 3-2 vote.
11.2. So we have a discussion, thank you, Josh, on the direction for the vacant city property located at the northwest corner of Kentucky Avenue and Eleanor Road.
So Mayor and Council, our Director of Parks and Recreation, Michael Patton, will provide the report on this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Looks like Norma's gonna help me out here. Perfect. Thank you, Norma. So the Parks and Recreation Department would like to talk to council and get discussion and kind of feedback and direction on a piece of property that is undeveloped that the city purchased a long time ago for the tent for Parks and Recreation use. So kind of give you a little bit of background. In 2007, the city purchased 10 acres of property located at Eleanor Avenue and Kentucky Avenue. It's on the east side, not within city limits, if I'm correct on that. It was purchased in conjunction with the Riverbank Oakdale Transit Authority, ROTA. It was that long ago that the authority doesn't even exist anymore. In 2009, the assessed value was $76,739. So the idea of the property, reason why it was purchased, was to turn into a Parks Corporation yard where we would store our equipment, material supplies, and then ROTA would also use it for maintenance facility for their fleet. So to give you an idea, there's a little red square. I don't have the laser pointer, but right over there, kind of give you an idea where it is in conjunction with kind of the layout of the city. And then kind of zoom up. That's kind of the 10 acres are right there. So for today's use, the Parks and Recreation Department is currently storing its equipment at the Public Works Corporation yard. The Eleanor property is currently being used for grazing. The city is responsible for the property upkeep. The grazer that's out there has been paying the utility bills and the weed mains with his animals out there taking care of it all. Continue the Parks Corporation yard. The Parks and Rec Department will need to grow exponentially. Our Parks Department is 6 full-time employees. We don't have tons of equipment. However, we do share with Public Works, and they are a lot bigger than we are. And so as the city grows, we're all going to grow. And so, however, the property hasn't been used in 18 years, and immediate future, we don't see a need for it. And so unless there's like exponential growth to justify it for parks. So for our strategy, Parks and Recreation wants to recommend to the council to surplus the property to address some of the current Parks and Recreation needs. One of our proposed recommendations is back into last year, the city designated a 2-acre property at the intersection of Jackson and Stanislaus for park development. The idea would be to sell the property and use that money as seed money to begin developing that property out there for a park. And so kind of the next steps here, if the council does decide to give the direction to surplus the property, we'll come back and do a resolution kind of going to that surplus. We would also do a notify required agencies, housing authorities, public agencies that the property is available, allow 6 days for a response, negotiate with the interested parties, comply with affordable housing requirements. If no one really is interested at all, we could go to the open market, submit a report to the state, and then comply with CEQA. And so we love to get direction from the council on maybe go this direction or use part for something else, or I get that feedback from you guys.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments? Right now? Yeah, quick question. You said seed money for the park. Did you do any kind of estimates on?
So obviously it depends on what the appraisal comes through and what actually the sale of the property comes at. So it's a long winding road. We looked at Google. It says agricultural property in Stanislaus County per acre is about 15,000, 25,000. So you may look about 250. Talked with other people today, maybe somewhere around 400,000. For park development, for a developed park, it's about $1 million per acre. So we're looking at that park to be fully developed with amenities, grass space, irrigation, about $2 million. So the idea for the seed money would be able to get a landscape architect on board to do conceptual design, cost estimates, and then from there we can either present to council for general fund use or grant funding, fundraising. It's kind of that more clear vision outline right there. So that kind of is the intent, is kind of get that ball rolling.
Are there any public comment on this item? Any further comments or questions? If not, open to a motion.
I make a motion that we direct them to go ahead and do the sale of this property.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Pimentel?
Yes.
Councilmember Call?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fosse?
Yes.
And Mayor Hernandez?
Yes.
Thank you. That passes unanimously.
Okay, comments and reports. City Manager?
The only comment from staff tonight is that all city offices will be closed on Monday, February 17th for the President's Day holiday.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Only one announcement, and that is that the Riverbank Federated Women's Group is having their next meeting February 18th at 6:30 at Scout Hall.
Thank you, Rachel. So it was very exciting to see Chantel and Elon. So the Sister City Committee, for those that are not aware, we've been working pretty diligently all of last year, the first quarter here, to try to raise funds to send a Riverbank youth to Washington, D.C. for a summit that's going to be in June. And we had an application process sent to all 4 schools. And I'd like to appreciate Chantel. I know she had another commitment to take off to, but she stepped up. She did the video interview yesterday. So we're looking to submit all of that as soon as possible to the Sister Cities International. We'll get word if she was accepted or not. They're only taking 50 students across the country here. But it's going to be a very cool experience for somebody here in the city of Riverbank. And I think she's going to make represent us very well. I'd also like to thank Michael, where'd he go? Michael, for the event this past weekend with the My Little One and Me. It was an amazing event. And I almost got Cody to do the Gangnam Style, so I'll get him next year. So keep doing that event, Michael.
Thank you. I'll do this with Councilmember Pimentel.
I just want to say this Saturday at the Sports Bar 108, they're having comedy night. It's $15 a ticket. So if you want to come out and have a good laugh, it's for a good cause. Come on out.
Thank you. Councilmember Call.
On the 29th of January, right after our last meeting, I had the opportunity to attend the StanCog workshop, Stanislaus Council of Governments, which is our metro planning organization, regional transit authority, and local transportation in Stanislaus County. It was an overview of the processes on projects start to finish. And when we ask why everything takes so long, we kind of went over all of that. And then finding the funding and project prioritization. One of the big focuses going forward is going to be where we're going to find money since we're switching a lot of vehicles to electric. Gas taxes used to fix our roads and moving into EV, we have to kind of find a way to balance that. And then on the 5th, I went to Project Resolve with Mayor Hernandez, and it's an organization that figures out what builds and maintains stronger relationships with law enforcement. That particular workshop we did was how can we reach those who are distrustful with law enforcement? And so we were able to identify communities within communities where we can find designated messengers to help bridge that gap. So that was really enlightening. And then I went to the Little One and Me, just like everyone else. My son had a lot of fun and the glow sticks were a game changer. So kudos to you guys with those. I thought we were at a lightsaber party. And then the last one I went to was the El Concilio, meet the elected officials. Mayor Hernandez was there as well. And then Stanislaus Latino Chamber is actually hosting one as well, February 20th at Papa Poloni.
Thank you. So the point time count was on January 30th, like every year or every other year sometimes. We don't have, as far as I know, we don't have the actual data yet. No.
Usually the data doesn't get finalized until about June when they submit to the Department of Housing and Urban Development for the country. So.
But anecdotally, Sierra House served now as a main point of contact rather than Scout Hall, like it's been every other year. And it sounds like we've made more contact with folks. And I think part of that was the relationship building that Sierra House does. So thank you to Seth and everyone out there. I'm gonna keep it short. What else? Just to give a little bit more context to Project Resolve, that came around 2021 in response to some of the unrest that we saw and the protests that we saw in 2020, and was an effort of law enforcement to connect with community and like was mentioned, build communication and trust. And I was able to attend, as Riverbank feeds into Enoch's High School as well, be able to be a judge for their debate team. And I think we all have, and speech and debate. They were very impressive, the high school students. So it was exciting to be able to attend that. And I think that is it from me. So there are no closed session items. And the next regular city council meeting will be on Tuesday, February 28th. This meeting is 25th. This meeting is adjourned.